Halloween may have passed, the spooky season may be over, but the one thing scary enough to keep the spirit alive, no, it's not me without a beard, as frightening as that may be. That's right, today I want to talk about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, baby! Whether it was memes or the weird Zoomer nostalgia that exists for this franchise, there's a very weird reception for this movie, and I wanted to dive into the internet. I wanted to read some reviews from both sides of the spectrum, people who loved it, hated it, just some more fun ones in there, and then maybe I'll slip in my own little criticism for this movie at the end, and let's just get into it. As always, I'm pulling these reviews from Letterboxd. If you want to follow me on Letterboxd and all my other social media, that's down below. First review, the audience was scarier than the actual movie. So fun, quick little story. My theater had like assigned seating, and we were like the second ones in there, but the first people in there were the people we were sitting right next to, so that's a little awkward. And they look like the prime demographic for the Five Nights at Freddy's community. Before the movie starts, they don't stop giggling, and I will say they were respectful during the movie. But every so often, my peripheral vision would just be interrupted by one of these teenagers' arms
pointing at something. Oh, look, it's the reference. I know the reference.
The second the credits hit, they're laughing up a storm. And they're not even that much younger than me, but a part of me just hates them. And a part of me is jealous that I can't enjoy things to that level that they like the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. But a part of me, you know, I don't want to watch movies next to people who are gonna hate them. I want to enjoy films. I want to have a fun experience. So ideally, I was in the best case scenario to enjoy this movie. But you know how you like things and then the audience sometimes make you not like things? It's one of those. This is a slight spoiler, but this person with half a star says, when everyone started clapping when MatPat showed up, it was so beautiful. So when I heard Markiplier couldn't be in this movie, and then I was thinking, oh, does that mean other YouTubers are gonna be in this movie? And I instantly was like, is MatPat gonna be in this movie? And he fucking was. And he even got his fucking catchphrase in there. And the people next to me freaked out to the point like I didn't even hear the line with the word theory in it. I had to explain to my wife who MatPat is. But yes, I'm happy I live in the timeline where YouTubers are on movie theater screens and we're actually excited about it. Half a star. 7 years of loyalty for this. I could just see this guy at like a Five Nights at Freddy's subreddit like, what is this film? This will not stand for this respectable community. Another half star, 5 dream sequences at Freddy's. Yeah, I've heard some criticisms about this movie about our main character's kind of side quest he was doing with these dream sequences, and it didn't really have a lot of payoff. I also don't think it's even like the worst thing in the movie. There's a lot of scenarios where they didn't give the characters any motivation or backstory, so I'm glad they threw in something. Half a star. Now that's a comedy. You know what? Valid. Arguably one of the worst films I've ever seen. You know, a part of me does want to kind of dog on this movie for its like worst aspects, but it's so campy and memey. As I was walking out of the theater for this movie, there was a guy wearing a Freddy Fazbear helmet on top of a suit, taking a picture with the poster. The worst films I've ever seen don't have any love whatsoever like that. Another half star. It was the clapping and cheering from the gang of 6th graders at the end of the movie that did it for me. As funny as that image is, I don't think there was really any children in my theater. I think it was just Zoomers who have been in high school or college at this point. Stu? Yeah, they got Stu in this movie. Shout out to Shaggy. Well, I tried. This person sounds very defeated. I tried to give Five Nights at Freddy's a chance, and I left incredibly bored. The story felt uninspired, dry, hollow. The characters have no personality or are just flat out unlikable. Sure, the animatronics are great, and the cast does their best with the material they are given to work with, but Five Nights at Freddy's won't keep me up at night. I actually ended up falling asleep instead, and this might just be the whole straight to streaming bullshit going on right now. But the amount of people in these comments that were talking about how they fell asleep, which I think is one of the worst parts about streaming, is you just have this rotation of random content at your disposal, and your body and mind go into a rotation and treat it like it's any old thing, and you're gonna fucking sleep through a bunch of it because it doesn't give a shit about it, so why should you at the end of the day? Even though this person said they went to go see it, just random side topic. The kids in my theater kept clapping at random points and I have no fucking clue why. PogChamp at MatPat though. And that's pretty much where I was at. My wife walked me through a couple of the references and caught me up to speed on a couple of things. But for the most part, my big reference I got was MatPat. I streamed this for free on Peacock, but still feel owed a refund from Universal. Well, I was gonna make out a joke, if you pay for Peacock, you should get a refund, but I have Peacock because I watch wrestling, so I'm as much of a stupid consumer as you are. With this riveting review right here, half a star, it's a movie. Beautifully said. 8 fucking years I waited. 8 fucking years! Half a star rating. So you're telling me the Five Nights at Freddy's community 8 years ago was like, I have to see this in the cinemas and I'm waiting as of right now. Like, I waited for some things in my day. I waited for Kingdom Hearts 3. I waited for Elder Scrolls 6, which still isn't happening. I don't think anybody waited with bated breath for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. People were lying about this movie. This is the best movie I've ever watched, but he gave it half a star. Where the fuck was Sexy Freddy? Only good part was Matty Poo. Why is so much of the internet talking like this? Why are Letterboxd reviews just horny gibberish? Alright, that's enough negativity. Let's hear some positive reviews. Let's hear from the people who love this movie. 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. I love the part where Freddy turned into William Afton, said, "It's FNAF time," and Fazbeared all over the place. Okay, maybe I don't want to hear from the perspective of people who love this movie. Alright, this is another person who gave it a 10. Watched it on Wednesday, the opening night. I was stunned, shocked to my core. I've been waiting over 8 years for this movie, and I loved it. Only thing that confused me was that Vanessa was Afton's daughter. It's based on the books and the games, but it just didn't make sense. They're really invested in this. They're reading books. When MatPat came in for his little cameo, I was so shocked, man. I loved it. I was so sad when I found out that Markiplier was supposed to be the opening security guy who got killed. The I always come back. I loved it. The realism was amazing. The spring lock scene is probably my favorite gory bit of the film. Afton did the thing. The swipe of the knife to remove the blood. Josh Hutcherson was my Pookie, was so good. And my other Pookie, Matthew Lillard, was also so good. 10 million out of 10 for the both O to Bem. 100,000 out of 10. Holy shit, what did I just read? I have to process this. If I have to read another review that uses the word Pookie, I swear to Christ. They did amazing. The film has so many references to the games and the fandom, so obviously it's good then, if you have references. The set looked amazing and the music and the credits was a joy to hear. There was also 2 cosplayers in the screen. Very cool. Unfortunately, there's people in the audience, teens I think, who were fake screaming at the jump scares and laughing. I also thinking someone was throwing things as someone yelled at them to stop. However, I enjoyed the film very much. It's good to know there's degenerate Five Nights at Freddy's fans everywhere. I'm glad theaters are being run amok by Zoomer degenerates. There wasn't that many jump scares though. I honestly thought there could be more. I would have been fine with more jump scares, which is probably the first time I've ever said that. Josh Hutcherson can get in my bed. Yeah, I don't know why the internet's so horny nowadays. I remember when I was in high school and Hunger Games was happening and the Gale PETA arguments were happening, as great as those were, and people were calling this man ugly. Now he's a hot dude in Five Nights at Freddy's? Like, what fucking reality am I living in? Should have had at least one scene of Josh Hutcherson twerking, otherwise it was really good. I agree. Easily one of my favorite films I've ever seen. I've never enjoyed a film the way I enjoyed the FNAF movie in a long time. I can't wait for the second one. Let's hope it'll be a banger too. You know what, Nicholas? You're right. It was a banger. Oh god, I don't even want to read this. MatPat? I screamed. I was the only one who screamed in the cinema because MatPat. It's just such a theory. A game theory. I love FNAF. I love FNAF. Oh god, I hate you. My boyfriend yelled, "Yeah," when Chica bent over, and I don't know how to go on about my day. Yeah. When MatPat Sane said, "It's MatPatting time," and Matt patted all over everyone, including Markiplier, I think the 10-minute scene with Markiplier and MatPat making out was a bit unnecessary for the plot though. Anyway, the sweet AA batteries made me jump every time. I think more people in these reviews are talking about MatPat than they are the actual film. Greatest 2014 film ever. You know when the Slender Man movie came out and people said this? They meant that as an insult, but I think this might be a compliment. Which, by the way, we're just looking at some of the popular reviews at this point. Five Nights at Freddy's? Nah, give me Five Nights with Josh Hutcherson. When people say male actors don't get sexually objectified, I want them to read these fucking comments. Because apparently they do. I'm autistic, so I think I'm legally obligated to give this 5 stars. That was probably my favorite review. The cost of living is skyrocketing, and I chose to spend $20 on a Five Nights at Freddy's ticket. At least you won't be lying awake in the dead of night holding your Freddy Fazbear plushie thinking, what if, you know? And to close out this review, I think we can all agree that together, we are FNAF. Alright, I think I've heard enough of the FNAF community. I'm gonna give my little review. Yes, as someone who has not played the games, for what merit that's worth, I thought it was a cheesy, dumb horror film, and for that, I enjoyed it. Licensed franchise video game movies are rarely good. I think these films can work if they're self-aware and if they love that initial franchise, which I feel like the people making this movie definitely were. Which, don't get me wrong, I think there's some things wrong with this movie. I think the pacing's weird because it wants it to be 5 different nights. And so that means there's a bunch of time during the day where it's just boring. Some of the characters were flipping from their personalities and motivations. And it goes from spooky animatronics to these are my friends, Freddy Fazbear and the gang, pretty quickly. But I think PETA, Guinevere Beck, and Shaggy all did a great job. I think they helped carry this film. I don't think this film really would have worked without them. As dumb as the film is, I can't lie and say I didn't have a fun time with it. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts about the FNAF movie down below. Also, I have a second channel where I do movie reviews that are a little more official than this, and I do Let's Plays on that too. If you feel like checking that out, please go on over there and subscribe. I'm playing Spider-Man 2 right now. It's going great. And that's about all I got for this one. Thank you, and with that, I leave you.